regional banking turmoil earlier this year, U.S. regulators have proposed higher capital requirements that have been slammed by J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon. Dimon pointed finger at central banks in an interview at the Barclays conference yesterday.
The Federal Reserve should have a little humility. They're the ones that told the world rates aren't going up. And it wasn't the Federal Reserve in general. It was each one of them independently. In fact, it was each central bank. So if I were them, I'd have a little more humility over stuff like this.
FTX just scored court approval to sell billions in crypto assets. The bankrupt crypto company said the move would allow it to repay customers in U.S. dollars and minimize risks tied to price volatility in crypto markets. In a Monday court filing, FTX said it owns nearly $3.5 billion in crypto, including more than $1 billion in Solana, $560 million in Bitcoin, and nearly $200 million in Ether. And now yesterday, the bankruptcy judge overseeing the case says the firm can now sell up to $100 million in crypto per week. At the same time, the judge allowed FTX to increase the liquidation pace up to $200 million per week, pending sign-off of the two creditor committees. FTX can also now enter into hedging and staking agreements that will let the company reduce the risk of volatility and earn passive income on crypto assets like Bitcoin. The official committee appointed to represent FTX customers in the bankruptcy supported the crypto exchange's request, along with a committee that represents non-U.S. customers with deposits on its international exchange. According to this court filing, FTX hired U.S. crypto firm Galaxy as an investment advisor, partly to manage the risk that information leakage would lead to short-selling activity and sharp declines in the price of crypto.
Welcome back to Squawk Box. The European Central Bank raising interest rates by a quarter point, bringing up its benchmark rate to 4.5 from 4.25. But suggesting that perhaps it's done.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the cash app and by joining the Patreon.
And guys, we have Jamie Dimon playing the Hegelian dialectic, talking about the Fed raising rates. Also, capital requirements. At first, he stated the Fed was doing a good job. Guys, we know why the Fed printed all this money, to destroy this legacy market, and we're definitely seeing the proof. We know these small banks, medium-sized banks, will not work in the fourth industrial revolution. Real-time settlement, they need too much liquidity. And then, guys, we have FTX can now sell billions of crypto. And we already know it's going to trigger a sell-off. Then on top of it, you have Mt. Gox coming right behind it. And we know dates are selected. It's never a coincidence. And then, guys, we have the ECB raises rates again. And in Europe, the inflation is still over 5%. And we know these high rates for longer is crushing the global economy. Remember, guys, majority of the globe was at 0% or negative for over a decade. And then all of a sudden you raise interest rates at the speed of lightning. And guys, anybody who understands finances know what's about to happen. But unfortunately, the sheep are asleep. They're distracted watching what? Thursday night football. And we know why it was switched over to Amazon. And then, guys, we have the casinos, MGM, and Caesar hack. And they have not yet told us how they paid. And I would like to know if they were paid in crypto. But guys, you know how I feel about hacks. It's normally always an inside job. And then we have automaker strike looming. And guys, we know they don't want individual cars anymore. Don't forget Trump signed the bill for driverless cars with no steering wheel and no pedal. That means they don't want you behind it. We see all the fourth industrial revolution technology coming in. But remember what Klaus stated. This is a fragmented world. They have to break up everything in order to change it. You just can't go from this over to the fourth industrial revolution. You have to destroy it, and you have to allow the people to destroy it. You have to give them enough strength. And we know the NWO plays the Hegelian dialectic and the divide and conquer in order to get towards the agenda. And they're really turning it up right now. But if you think about transportation and cars, we haven't had cars that long. Everybody individually having their own car. And 15-minute cities is nothing new. If you think back in the day, That's all they went. They probably didn't even go 15 minutes away. But guys, this time it's controlled, and that's the problem. Back then, it was a choice. You had a lot of communities, and they were very tight. This time, guys, they want to control you, and that's the issue. And then once you go inside the metaverse, guys, they will be able to download you, and there's no turning back. I know it sounds like a movie, but remember, your life is an illusion, and TV is your reality. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
The cyber intrusion caused some disruption in the hotel and casino systems nationwide. Much of that is still shut down. The website, for instance, I just checked, still off. I'm told that the regional casinos have recovered some computerized gaming systems, but Las Vegas is still manual, though offering the full complement of casino, dining, and other guest options. The FBI and other federal law enforcement are involved in the investigation, and my sources tell me they've also been involved with an incursion at Caesars Entertainment. Criminals got into Caesars systems and last week demanded a $30 million ransom. I've learned that Caesars has agreed and is paying half of that. I've confirmed that ransom demands have been made to MGM as well. Now, what separates these two sophisticated cyber incursions is likely the systems that got exposed at each company and, of course, the damage caused by the intrusion. What they have in common, my sources say, is that the criminals did not hack their way in. A human actually opened the door for them. In both cases, social engineering was used, where criminals target an employee either at the company or at a third-party vendor, and it works. Cybersecurity expert Elon Arvatz, the CEO of Point 5, says that criminals increasingly are using vishing, that is, voice phishing by phone. We saw those efforts work successfully this summer when a number of casinos lost millions, when backroom staff were fooled into making cash payments to criminals. And the chief technology officer for another major gaming company told me all of this is a sobering wake-up call about how sophisticated the criminals are once they're inside the system, how damaging financially and, of course, to brand reputation their actions can be. He said it has prompted more system reviews for his company internally there as well. Andrew.
You say this strike is looking much more likely. Obviously, we're getting closer to the deadline. There's not some sort of agreement that many people can see them getting to between now and then. What happens to the economy if there is a strike at the big three?
I think it's not going to have very much effect on the economy as a whole. You know, a 10-day strike is estimated by a consulting firm that was hired by the companies to cost a little bit over $5 billion. We have a $25 trillion economy, so it's just going to be a drop in the bucket. It will have a more direct effect on the auto communities where these workers live. If they go out on strike and the amount of money they have in their pockets goes down, they'll be able to buy less. They may be a little late on the rent or on the mortgage. It depends on how long the strike lasts. If it's a protracted strike, then there could be consequences for the auto companies' supply chains. But I think that it's more likely that we'll see what Phil was describing, which is targeted strikes at specific plants. We're not going to see all of the workers, all 150,000 workers go out all at the same time. It's going to be more strategic than that. So I think the economic impact will be quite limited.
Seth, Tyler, how about you? Seth was just pointing out that survey, that study that showed that it was maybe $5.6 billion or something for a 10-day strike. I think that same survey also suggested that Michigan could get pushed into a recession by some of these things. You're looking back at history, and you've seen what it's done in the past.
Yes, I'm reminded that there was a relatively short, relatively mild recession in 1969, 1970 when over 160,000 General Motors employees walked out on strike. And at the time, General Motors was 2.3% of the U.S. economy, or at least their revenue was, and they counted over 39,000 suppliers. I think this is quite different from 1969 to 70. As Seth said, this is probably going to be a modest GDP impact, especially if the strikes are targeted at a few factories. However, with an integrated supply chain, I think we could see some impact on the flow of new autos, which is going to have an impact on the price of both new autos and used autos, as people have to substitute away from new autos to used cars. And in recent months, used cars and new cars have been a source of disinflation in the U.S., And I think with this strike ongoing for some protracted period of time, that sign could flip and they could become net inflationary again.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the fourth industrial revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.